Okay, I've been hearing about this TED Talk, so I thought I'd just play some clips from it that I thought were interesting. This one was the first I heard online, which brought my attention to it. About to happen.
Shifting how things work.
This is the interviewer, and this guy, Yuval Harari, is involved with the World Economic Forum, so that's why this is of interest to people, especially because of what he says.
And actually realizing those fears or risking realizing those fears even more deeply than you think people feel.
So on one level, it's the economic and military realities. If you go back to the middle of the 20th century, and it doesn't matter if you're in the United States with Roosevelt, or if you're in Germany with Hitler, or if you're in the USSR with Stalin, and you think about building the future, then your building materials are those millions of people who are working hard in the factories, in the farms, the soldiers you need them. You don't have any kind of future without them. And now fast forward to the...
Just notice he said soldiers first. Factories, farms. Was the list of things needed. Of people doing things, which are really just like tasks. Like interesting. It totally disregards like advancement of society. It's just like just fucking cogs in the machine.
The early 21st century, when we just don't need the vast majority of the population.
Because
you don't have Hitler, or if you're in the USSR with Stalin, and you think about building the future, then your building materials are those millions of people who are working hard in the factories, in the farms, the soldiers you need them. You don't have any kind of future without them. And now fast forward to the early 21st century, when we just don't need the vast majority of the population.
Because
the future is about developing more and more sophisticated technology, like, again, artificial intelligence, bioengineering.
Enough. Assumption. See how he was like back then? They needed stuff because it's obvious to me who is a tyrant. Oh, I need soldiers, factory workers, and farmers. Those things, of course, tyrants need. But tyrants don't need thinkers. They don't need people that resist them. That's fucking... Get out of the way. Fucking tyrants. Don't you understand? We're in control here. So that's pretty much the admission of that's how they think. Now let's see how they really think. This is what's fucking dudes.
To things like the American dream or even human rights.
Human rights are not a biological fact. They are a story we have constructed. Now, when I say that something is a fiction or a myth or a story, it doesn't mean that it's evil or that it's a lie or that it is bad. There are good stories and bad stories. I mean, the way to measure, to decide whether a story is good or bad is its impact in the world. Some stories are wonderful and some stories are terrible.
But isn't... Like, I think one...
Fucking tyrants. Fucking tyrants. They're setting up when the truth comes out how it fucking wakes people up and the shit hits the fan. Oh, see how when we're tyrants and you have no rights, how that's better for you. I mean, as long as you're one of the people we're still talking to, if you're not one of these people who are just so oppressed that, you don't matter. You're what you think doesn't fucking matter. Let's see if we can find some. Oh, let's see what he says.
But in one way or another, we are so far, globally, we are so far above the population and the consumption levels which can be supported by this planet that I know in one way or another it's going to come back down. So I don't hope to avoid that. I hope that it can occur in a civil way. And I mean civil in a special way. Peaceful. Peace doesn't mean
Peaceful, civil. We'll just inject them before they realize. We'll lie to them as they just fucking die. Notice how no one puts up a fight when they don't realize they're being fucking genocidally murdered. Peaceful, civil. It's like taking a pillow, suffocating. Take their arms, strap them down. Peaceful. See, they're not moving.
that everybody's happy, but it means that conflict isn't peaceful. Peace doesn't mean that everybody's happy, but it means that
Oh, you don't have to be happy about it. We're killing everyone, but we know that's not it's bringing happy and joy to you. But you don't have to be. We're just gonna do it anyway because we decided that we understand best.
conflict isn't solved through violence, through force, but rather in other ways. And so
tell that to the American Revolution, to the Civil War. Fucking thunder. Sometimes people don't fucking listen to reason, and what happens? They start to fucking force, and people don't like it, and they lash the fuck out and fight back. He's saying, don't fight back. Shh. That's what they want. Shh. Don't know. You're not supposed to know what we're doing. Shh. Shh. Keep it down. I just look for, where is it? This video. I literally searched for this title exactly. Exact title on Apple TV. Nowhere to be seen on YouTube. What do you mean, YouTube? There's no video by this title, YouTube? Okay, so I search by the username. I go to the username. And it's fucking difficult to look through. But I find it. But it's just like, dude, you buried it. You guys are fucking burying shit intentionally. That's what they're doing, dudes. So let's go back to this. Let me play this again, because it's important. Notice that rights are called rights. They're not called maybes. They're not called plausibles. They're not called debates. They're not called let's talk about this for a while. They're not called we're just gonna ignore them. They're called fucking rights.
Maybe even a local superstition, through to things like,
but tell me about how they're not biological.
The American dream, or even human rights.
Human rights are not a biological fact. They are a story we have constructed. Now, when I say that something is a fiction or a myth,
he says story, and then he changed the word. He didn't say story again to make it clear that he was talking about story. He brought in two new words that said, for sure, these words also describe rights, human rights, fiction, myth, story.
Myth or a story, it doesn't mean that it's evil or that it
doesn't mean it's evil. The fucking interviewer had never used the word evil. This word evil, I believe, doesn't arise at all in this conversation until just then. Human rights evil. It doesn't mean that it's evil. What? Why would because you called a human rights a story mean it's evil? What in the fuck are you talking about? Do you see what they think, dudes?
Human rights are not a biological fact. They are a story we have constructed. Now, when I say that something is a fiction or a myth or a story, it doesn't mean that it's evil or that it's a lie or that it is bad. There are good stories and bad stories. I mean, the way to measure, to decide whether a story is good or bad is its impact in the world. Some stories are wonderful and some stories are terrible.
But isn't, like, I think
There's two people standing there, right? One of them starts to just fucking impose on the other. And then they get a balance. Let's say that's not just two people, but it's just like billions of people that are generally like opposing. And they start to overwhelm the other. And they create a balance where they're basically squashing the other. And the other at some point like realizes they're being oppressed. Is it human rights, the story, bad, evil because people fight back from the oppression? Or is the fucking oppression evil? You guys are fucking ridiculous. Other me's think they know what the fuck they're talking about biological. When human rights comes up, he brings in biology. Fucking so disconnected, dude. What are you talking about? Fucking, this is how they get away with it, is they literally believe that this is, oh no, human rights. That was irrelevant. We don't need them anymore. Never mind that I'm saying the words right now. Everyone who says something about free speech, I'm like, say it without words, dude. You fucking retard. No offense. Say it without fucking words. Oh, you can't? Isn't that something? So shut the fuck up about freedom of speech being like too much. Oh no, it's too much that people can speak. People don't understand like how we got here and are willing to tear down the pillars that got us here. I know that's pretty fucking hypocritical in appearance. Fact is, I'm just taking the next fucking step. I ain't following in this bullshit no more. The lies. It just taught me, nope, not the lies. It's not disconnected from the past. What they're doing is disconnected from reality. Fucking absurdity.
through to things like the American dream or even human rights.
Human rights are not a biological fact. They are a story we have constructed. Now, when I say that something is a fiction or a myth or a story, it doesn't mean that it's evil or that it's a lie or that it is bad. There are good stories and bad stories. I mean, the way to measure, to decide whether a story is good or bad is its impact in the world. Some stories are wonderful and some stories are terrible.
But isn't, like, I think one criticism I've occasionally heard of your work is that there's a sort of breathtaking.
Oh my god, the interviewer let him
taking power in sort of connecting, the fiction of.
I could tell the interviewer disagrees greatly. Obviously, it's much more like, like, oh, you're talking about me. You're saying like, kill me and everyone.
Human rights with the fiction of believing in the god Gugu who is hidden behind that rock and who was going to throw thunderbolts at you. And both may have served a purpose in their time. But is it possible that you're not doing enough to differentiate different types of fiction that, yes, they may all be useful in their moment to build cooperation, but isn't it also possible that some of these stories are actually truer than others? Is there, like, if you believe in truth, can't you also say that stories over time are at least capable of becoming truer or more useful? So, for example, science, like, I don't want to believe that science is just another story.
No, science isn't. I mean, we need to differentiate two types.
Is what? Go on, tell me about science, dude, and how it's a complete work of art.
Of power
Right.
in history. You have the power over
See how he believes in science. Oh no, human rights are trash, but science is not a story, it's a fact.
objective reality, like to build bridges or cure diseases or building an atom bomb.
See, they bring in like things that we're capable of. We figured out we can build bridges, so that really gives merit to science. It's just like that's the way. That's the way. Science says we should kill everyone. Well, science did say.
And then you have the power over humans and their subjective feelings or imagination, making them believe in something. Now, for most activities, you need both. Let's say you want to build an atom bomb. So on the one hand, you need a good theory of physics. If you don't understand physics well enough, you will not be able to build an atom bomb. And here, we are not dealing with fictional stories.
Pardon me.
We are dealing with more accurate or less accurate scientific theories. And I definitely believe in scientific objectivity and truth in that sense. But on
So what the fuck are you doing?
the other hand, in order to build an atom bomb, a good understanding of physics is not enough. You also need people to cooperate, to mine uranium and build reactors.
If you don't understand physics well enough to bring them in, maybe you don't understand physics well enough because it's fucking enough to bring cooperation. It is. Sorry, you're wrong.
And clean after all the scientists have lunch, so somebody needs to clean the dishes. You need people to cooperate on this. And for that, you need a story. You will not get millions of people cooperating by telling them E equals MC square.
That's because that's not the truth. Like that's just basic, dude. Who gives a shit? That's like telling them fucking the law of gravity. It does. I mean, it's a thing, but it's not. You need fucking detail, dude. Yeah, of course you're not gonna do it with a fucking equation. You need detail, essence, truth, the fucking depth and layers of physics, not some fucking single equation. Yeah, let's simplify it down and make it Oh, wow, that was well said. Wow, I'm glad we learned how. What is it? Both sidesism, combining words. That's how we do now. It's kind of like this. Like someday we just decide that we would prefer the word audio and collective together, so we just fucking mash them together, and then we start mashing everything together, and then suddenly there's like whole paragraphs. What's it called? Whataboutism? Whataboutism? Ludicrous. It's basic, dudes. This is us degrading in our understanding, where at some point we're like, we'll just combine words. What about? A lot of people say what about. Well, a lot of people say what about as a response to something because they're having a conversation and they're trying to understand the nature of reality. I don't like that. I prefer that they shut their fucking mouth and don't ask questions. So what about ism? Let's make it a thing. As a matter of fact, while we're at it, let's make another thing. Let's call it both sidesism. You might as well take this here, whataboutism, and just couple this whole paragraph, some section of it to be a word. At some point, to really restrict speech, if you want to make it so I can't say paragraphs like this where I quote someone's fucking actual words. If you would prefer that I only be able to say specific things, then maybe you should give me paragraph words. That would be a good idea. Whataboutism, but next level. Learn from your advancements of this clear understanding that just resonates from this word. And just do it 2 paragraphs. That's a good way to reduce speech, really. That's my recommendation.
You need people to cooperate on this. And for that, you need a story. You will not get millions of people cooperating by telling them E equals MC square. Now let's build an atom. No, why? And the story you tell them need not be true at all. It could be complete nonsense. And still it would be effective in making them cooperate. Now, still, I would say there are good stories and bad stories you can tell people in that situation.
So he's saying he believes stories can be told that are complete nonsense that will make people cooperate. He's saying lie to people. So there's ways where story can be complete nonsense. It can be complete nonsense.
You also need people to cooperate, to mine uranium and build reactors and clean after all the scientists have lunch, so somebody needs to clean the dishes. You need people to cooperate on this. And for that, you need a story. You will not get millions of people cooperating by telling them E equals MC square. Now,
you will by telling them the actual truth.
Now let's build an atom. No, what?
E equals MC squared. That's not energetic enough. That's really the basic of it. The basis. It's just not like fucking potent enough to be like gravitationally compelling. Like, dude, I can't escape this shit. I think I passed the event horizon.
Wow. And the story you tell them need not be true at all. It could...
Need not. Yeah, he's right. It doesn't have to be. You can fucking lie all you want. Lie. Lie. Oh, this is great. It works. Look how well the lies work. They just fucking collapse society so that when the truth comes out, the truth gets blamed. Are you fucking kidding me? You fucking snowballing lies need to be stopped because they fucking lies. It doesn't matter. We all love to live in false realities. It's fucking excellent here, where everyone's dying except the people who are with enough energy to actually control things. Anyone who wants to live, is their way of living is to just be like fucking China. COVID. Let's see what comes up here. Like the amount of people, it doesn't even show, like this shit. The amount of people in China that are probably surviving this whole fucking COVID thing because the government is printing money and then handing it to them. And that is their way of getting money, but the way they're not just handing it to them, they're literally fucking enforcing the COVID. So like, well, the army, they got a fucking army of people walking around fucking spraying chemicals. Where do you get an army of chemical sprayers? I can't even fucking support myself. This fucking government can support an army of chemical sprayers. Dude, it's the imbalance. How fucking wasteful and just killing, like genocidal probably. I mean, it's fucking literally to kill things. We're killing things, spraying everyone. So anyway, that's my thoughts on this. I'd highly recommend checking out the totality of what he has to say. Getting acquainted with what a lot of the people have to say, like Klaus Schwab. I mean, I don't think Yuval Harari is necessarily as intimately tied into the heart of World Economic Forum. I mean, he maybe is acquainted enough to be similar, like-minded in speaking it, but I don't think I've never heard of him before this. I do recall his book Sapiens, so I do recall that I have come across him. I just didn't remember his name from that. So basically, in effect, I'd never heard of him until this, where I now see him saying human rights are a story.
Through to things like the American dream or even human rights.
Human rights are not a biological fact. They are a story we have constructed. Now, when I say that something is a fiction or a myth or a story, it doesn't mean that it's evil or that it's a lie or that it is bad. There are good stories and bad stories. I mean, the way to measure, to decide whether a story is good or bad is its impact in the world. Some
fucking lies. Lies overpowered the fucking world, and now stability in the world is maintained through lies. Instability is caused by, it's basically like there's a pressure this way, the lie is a balance. The lies start to go this way, and they created an imbalance, and now truth is going the opposite direction. And so it's like gonna break apart the lies. I mean, it's just gonna fucking shatter the world when the truth comes out, because the lies are so overwhelming. It's not anyone's fault for telling the fucking truth and trying to help. That's pretty much what he basically is getting at, is that like when the truth comes out, we can blame those people who told the truth. Fuck you, World Economic Forum, and all y'all punk asses.